The Liat strike action has caused yet another disappointment. Leader of the United Workers' Party, Ron Green, said a court matter involving the election petitions has been postponed until next week as a result of ongoing strike action. Hearing for the court petitions lodged by the UWP against the conduct of the December 18, 2009 general elections in Dominica was scheduled for today. In January, the United Workers' Party filed suit against the Scary government, alleging gross irregularities in the conduct of the poll, which saw the incumbent Dominica Labour Party win by 18-3 majority. Topping the petition list is the allegation that Prime Minister Roosevelt Scarrett illegally contested the elections, since he was at the time the holder of a dual French and Dominican citizenship, an action not permitted under the Dominican laws. The court is being requested to set aside the Prime Minister's victory in the Vickers constituency. A similar petition was lodged in the Lapland constituency, where United Workers' Party leader Ron Green lost by 2 votes to Peter Sejar, the current education minister. Sejar is alleged to be a holder of a dual American and Dominican citizenship. Other petitions relate to the charges of bribery involving the payment by the government of airline tickets for several hundred overseas-based Dominicans to return to vote for the ruling party. Prime Minister Scarrett denied persistent rumors that he was about to resign in anticipation of the court's ruling. At the time, he expressed confidence that the courts would rule in his favor, since the UWP charges were largely baseless. The United Workers' Party legal team is headed by Senior Counsel Douglas Menz of Trinidad and Tobago. The strike action has also affected a workshop organized by the Dominica National Council on Women, which was scheduled for today. President of the DNCW, Josephine Dublin-Prince, says a workshop on awareness and capacity building of civil society about trade-related labor and gender issues, which was expected to take place today, has been postponed due to the cancellation of all Liat flights yesterday.
Unfortunately, because the 2 main facilitators are coming from Barbados, the official opening and the workshop has been postponed to a later date. The focus of the workshop was really to inform and build, to inform civil society, build and enhance their capacity to understand and engage on the treatment of issues as they relate to trade, labor, and gender. So we want to inform the public that and those who were invited to this important opening ceremony and workshop that the workshop has been postponed until another date.
President of the National Council on Women, Josephine Dublin-Prince. The strike action is continuing, and the press release has indicated that all flights have been cancelled. In other news, President of the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association, Simon Walsh, says chances that the effects of the major BP oil spill reaching the Dominica water is unlikely. Reports indicate that if the situation is not controlled soon, it could reach the Caribbean. However, Walsh says if oil from the spill reaches Dominica, it could have implications for the tourism industry.
Okay, well, as you mentioned, you said that the oil from the BP spill in the Gulf has reached Cuba. I think the chances of it reaching all the way to Dominica are fairly small, although I don't want to underestimate the size of this oil spill. It's definitely one of the biggest environmental disasters in mankind's history. But we do have a lot of currents and a lot of things going on between here and Cuba that would probably make it unlikely that a large quantity of the oil would reach all the way down here. Biggest impact I think it's going to have is going to be on places that rely on beach tourism, especially obviously places close, and of course if you have any wildlife that's affected by it, that's another bad image that will turn tourists off from visiting you. Here in Dominica, we are fairly far south down the chain of islands, and we will go to some of the islands with beaches, sort of well-known islands. As far as it driving more tourism towards us or less tourism towards us, I'd say it's very hard to predict. But if we were to start seeing oil washed up on the beaches of the Caribbean islands close to us, then obviously this could be quite catastrophic for our tourism industry. Certainly nothing we need, but at a time when we're facing in the month of July round-trip tickets from Florida are $1,000 per person roughly on American, this is a huge challenge to our tourism industry, and I think something we need to be more worried about than the oil at this point. That is purely from a tourism standpoint. From an environmental standpoint, obviously this is very completely disastrous for many countries and many tourism industries in the Gulf and Florida, and so it's all in our region, and it's definitely not good for tourism, and it's a catastrophe. But let us just hope that it won't reach this far south.
President of the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association, Simon Walsh, a leading agricultural official, says the issue of transportation to export produce to the regional market is a major problem in the region. Coordinator of the National Fair Trade Organization, Amos Wilshire, says a refrigerated boat should be given priority to ensure that produce for export is received in good quality. Wilshire says there needs to be more action than talk.
The Dominica Farmers Union in the 80s, we brought forward a steel hull refrigerated boat called Oscar Flower that we had in Portsmouth. So we did not only try to stay out there and speak like some organization and some people just talk and nothing coming out. We came out with a very good boat which was called the Oscar Flower. And because of poor management, that boat had gone down to a hurricane, and we had it dock up in Portsmouth. We had it coming ashore in Portsmouth. Since then, nobody have really put together a proper boat. And that is some of the things we have. Transportation is part of our problem. We know an international airport is out of the question where we can have big cargo planes come in for some of our fresh produce to be able to bring into the region and extra-regional. But I believe that what we should do is invest in the right areas. Transportation is a problem in the region. We've been talking about that. We talk about that in Brussels. We talk about that in region. We talk about that everywhere, and nothing is happening. Transportation has been our problem. And I believe we should come forward with something to be able to do that. The refrigerated boat, I heard sometimes that the authorities been talking about 2 boats that will service us. And it's only talking. It's time now we stop talking and start acting, my dear.
Coordinator of the National Fair Trade Organization, Amos Wilshire. In other news, Chief Cultural Officer Raymond Lawrence says that ALBA is an important step toward bringing South America and the Caribbean together. Lawrence was speaking to Kairifm News following the opening ceremony of a 3rd Minister of Culture and Higher Authorities of the ALBA on Wednesday. He says that culture is an important medium in order to have linkages like these activities effectively work.
Of course, I think we in Dominica and all other countries believe in closer relationships, closer working together. For instance, we have neighbors, Guadeloupe, Martinique. We've been in close contact and we've been working with them. We have the Kairifm countries. We've been working in close association with them as well. Now we have this larger ALBA grouping that takes in both Latin America and the Caribbean. And I think it's an important step, in the sense that it brings countries closer together from South America and the Caribbean closer together. And I mentioned that we've had links with South America for a long time. The Caribs and the Arawaks came out of South America up the Caribbean islands. So we've had that link for a long time. The same way too that we would like to have closer links with all countries in the world. That's why you have organizations like the United Nations, the OAS, and it's to link countries, to help them to understand each other better. And I think culture is such a wonderful medium for that, and maybe we even need to in a sense try to forge closer links through the avenue of culture, because I think that's very important. That's what I think this meeting is doing here this morning, trying to strengthen relationships between the Caribbean islands and Latin America, and hopefully that can grow from strength to strength.
Chief Cultural Officer Raymond Lawrence. Lawrence says the promotion of culture in Dominica should not be held at a misconception.
We don't see more of the European culture. We must remember that most of the culture in Dominica was influenced by our African ancestors. Even the European-based dances, even the national wear was created based on other influences, but created by our Afro. So we have to remember that. Secondly, I mentioned when we had Dom Festa that in Dominica sometimes we have a misconception about the promotion of culture. We think it's only at Independence Time, but there's Carnival. When you look at the cultural calendar, there's Carnival, there's the Dominica Festival of Arts in the month of April and May and the months. We have the National Schools Arts Festival that usually takes place around Easter time.